All right. We are live. It's Podcast PD. It's Sunday night. This is not the true intro. We're going to roll that right now, I guess, sort of.
This is a great introduction. Hey, everybody.
Hi. Hi ho. Coming up on episode 86 of Podcast PD. Wow. All right, we'll try that again. Coming up on episode 86 of Podcast PD, we tackle the topic of connecting with families during remote, virtual, and hybrid learning. We share what's worked and what hasn't so we can all grow during this interesting time in education. Let's start the show. This is Podcast PD, the show that provides you with anytime, anywhere professional development. Our conversations and guests will provide you with the learning you might get in a faculty meeting or on a PD day. Except you're going to have more fun with AJ Bianco, Stacey Lindis, and me, Chris Nessie. Let's start the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to episode 86 of Podcast PD. My name is Chris Nessie. I'm the host of the House of EdTech podcast. I am at Mr. Nessie on Twitter. And because it's Sunday night when we record this fine program, I am joined by my podcast compadres, Stacey Lindis and Andrew Johnston Bianco.
That's not it.
Stacey, how are you?
I'm doing well. So we're only connecting because it's Sunday, or it's Sunday so we're connecting? I'm confused by that. Anyway, I'm doing well, Chris. It was a wonderful fall weekend in New Jersey. Yeah, lots of pumpkin carving. I
carved pumpkins today too.
Some more birthday celebration and
wait, some more birthday celebration or s'more birthday celebration?
Some more.
There's a difference.
No, some more.
Some more. Well, whose birthday?
I don't know. This crazy lady in my house, the only crazy lady in my house. So, yeah.
That's right. Stacey had a birthday recently. Happy birthday, Stacey.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, we're doing like a little something every weekend in October. That's what I wanted for my birthday. And so, yeah, that's what I did.
That's funny. When it was my birthday, I told my wife I wanted a little something every weekend and she laughed at me.
Oh my God. I hope you edit.
Hey-o.
Speaking of heyo, we are live on YouTube. We are live on our Facebook group. We are live on Periscope or Twitter, as the cool kids say. So we're actually say hello to people in the chat. What's up, Dave? Dave Frangiosa, former guest of the podcast. AJ's friend on text and Twitter and stuff. So what's up, David? Good to see you. Stacey, it was your birthday. That's awesome.
Yep, thanks for all the birthday wishes, you guys.
Yeah, I pretty much sent a birthday wish everywhere I could reach you.
Yep, I got them all. I'm just not really on the socials lately, but yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
You know what they say about birthdays?
They happen every day, every year.
Birthdays are the worst days.
Why?
Oh, God. Well,
even I can't take a stab at that. I don't get it.
Really? Well, Notorious B.I.G. said birthdays are the worst days. And now we sip champagne when we thirsty.
I'm a white guy.
Well, all right.
So
we are
AJ.
really starting out wonderful. Starting out great. Well, I like
Well,
Biggie, so.
you know, it might be that kind of show.
Smack me in the face.
Hello to Stephanie. Stephanie's in the chat. Welcome aboard, Steph. Good to see you. AJ, how are you?
I'm doing great. Like, it's the fall. Baseball's over. Football is terrible. But I'm doing great otherwise. I'm happy.
Wonderful.
Exactly. Wonderful.
I heard the Giants won today.
So who cares?
I care.
Giants
there you
fans?
go. The Giants won.
We weren't talking about the Giants. We're talking about me and my needs. And at
Okay,
this point,
don't be a Jets fan.
I don't even need the Jets to win. I've been a Jets fan all my life.
AJ, don't be a Jets. Just change. Just change.
Just give up.
Be a Chiefs fan. Just give up.
Yes, I'll be like the teenager.
Same old Jets.
I'll be a teenager and just root for the front runners.
I didn't say be a Chiefs fan. I just said, look, If you don't want to be disappointed and have it not be about you or have a good weekend, pick a different team.
I didn't say it was a bad weekend. I just said I want my team to win. Now I don't want them to win anymore. So go anybody else.
Well, at least they have a real name.
They have a real name.
Yeah, they're
What
not
does
the
that
football
mean?
team, the Washington football team,
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
who lost
That
this
is
week.
true.
If that makes
To
you
the
feel
Giants.
any, yeah,
Yes,
I know
to the
that's because it was part
It's
of my.
all, it's all good. That's Stacey's sports knowledge for
That's
the
it.
two-
All right.
Somebody
Yeah.
played today.
That concludes Sports Talk with Stacey.
Two teams played, one team won. Good job.
Yeah, the New York Giants.
The New
Although
York
they're-
Giants
they're
football
in New
team.
Packers of
Jersey.
Green Bay took on the Giants of New York. And the winning team kicked an oblong pigskin through a goalpost. It was a
Oh.
daring good time.
I love
Name that
you
movie.
guys.
Name that movie. Come on. Somebody name the movie in the chat. Put it in the chat. Nobody's in the chat. Nobody's watching this.
Both Stacey and I want to say Coming to America, but it's probably not. It's probably
No,
Trading
you're
Places.
right. No, you're
Oh,
right. It's coming to America. Yes, it's coming to America.
We always pick Coming to America, and you're like, no, it's Trading Places.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Yep.
Well, we can't say
Right there.
it. Stop right there. Fill it in the chat.
So what are we talking about tonight?
So, well, I'm doing well too. Thanks for asking. So,
Sorry.
you know it's a good podcast episode when we're laughing. He's laughing. He's having a good time. Name that movie, AJ.
It sounds familiar, but I really have no idea. I want to say Coming to America. It was probably Trading Places.
No, it was
I know. I have no idea.
that movie where Adam Sandler goes back to school.
It's Billy Madison.
Billy Madison.
Yes.
That's the one.
I always get that one
All
confused with Happy Gilmore.
Two different movies.
Two different movies.
Same kind of stupidness.
Wow.
Same kind. Wow.
I enjoy both
Well-
of them. I'm just saying.
Did you hear though with Adam Sandler's new movie on Netflix, his Halloween movie, that he came out and he said he wants to do a movie called The Sandler Verse, where in one movie he brings together all of the popular characters from across
Oh my
all of his
god!
films.
So Happy and Billy and Little Nicky and
Oh my
Big
God.
Daddy.
I
I'm
think
a
we can-
fan.
I think we could exclude Little Nicky.
You
I don't
could.
think
Terrible
I
movie.
don't think I
but
saw that one, but I feel like you have to include it just because
The voice.
of its notoriety.
And how many characters would Rob Schneider play in this film?
Well,
I don't know
and,
if Rob
like
Schneider
all
is
of those SNL people.
I'll be honest. I don't think him and Rob Schneider are on good terms anymore.
Huh.
No,
Well,
they did something on SNL when in the spring when it was like COVID and
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah. Although it's funny because Rob Schneider was outside banging on the door to get in, but I thought it was a shtick. So maybe it's like there's some truth to it.
I think there was an out because I didn't see it, but the second Grown Ups movie, I think he wasn't in it and they killed him off. Something like that. Because they come on, he has his same people in all his movies.
He wasn't in the second Grown Ups movie?
Something like that. It was one of the movies that he was kind of kicked out because they had some beef.
All right. Well, speaking of Billy Madison
He's
and
here?
Grown Ups, tonight
Back to school.
we're talking about conferences. Well, not conferences. We're talking about connecting with parents and keeping those lines of communication open in this very strange and unprecedented time. I'm going to try to use every cliche that exists out there. But so I'm bringing it back. And that's what we're talking about tonight. I said conferences because I just got off of a week of conferences that just really kind of threw my world for a loop. Not the conference part, but just the havoc it wreaked on our actual academic schedule. Ooh, that was weird. On our academic schedule. We tried to cram all 8 periods of the day into the half day, which we do normally on a conference day, but there isn't a lunch and the periods aren't 25 minutes, but they included lunch and it was just all kinds of craziness. So the school day was crazy. Conferences, they were the best conferences I've had in the 18 years I've been teaching. So
Why is that?
I think there's a level of respect and admiration and awe in at least my parents. I cannot say this for everybody because I know being a parent in my town, sorry, I hit the mic. Being a parent in my town, I see a lot of the viciousness and the hatred of like the teachers not going back to school and blah blah blah. But I think also my situation lends itself, because I am teaching hybrid. There's a lot of appreciation for just being in school and for their kids having the ability to go back to school, and for like the minimal sense of normalcy that they are experiencing by getting on the school bus or by entering the school building each week, because our hybrid is one week on, 1 week off. So I really think that that's where it came from, but we heard it at least every day of conferences, if at least once, if not more than once. But it was just nice. You could just tell that, like, even if they didn't thank us, the parents were very appreciative of the fact that their kids got to be in school. And I can tell that was really, really important, not only for their children, but for them, but especially for their children. I can't hear you, Chris.
How's that new mic doing?
My experience is
There he is. He's
a
back.
little different. So I'm at the high school level. We don't have multiple conference days. We do have, like, once a year we have like conference night or day, where it's a half day for students, and then parents come in. But again, in my school, for a multitude of reasons, parental engagement and involvement isn't very high. So, I mean, I can go into my student information system and want to call home and try to communicate with parents, and it's a lot of disconnected numbers, mailboxes that haven't been set up, or it's the kid's phone number because they filled out the form and they're not answering to let you talk to the parent. And so, I mean, in past experiences, I've had a good rapport with the families I've worked with, and I've never subscribed to only call home when a kid does something wrong. I've always looked to call home to celebrate, as well as if there's an issue, parents know that I'm going to reach out and, we're going to communicate, for what's in the best interest of the child. But in my current role, it's not a lot of communication. Most of the communication, I'm dealing directly with my students. This was the first year, and go figure, it's virtual and it's all different, where back to school night was kind of fun, where, I did a Google Meet and I was playing Spotify music into my Google Meet, and parents could kind of come in over that, 2-hour period on back to school night. And that was fun. And parents were more excited to, like, put in a request to have me play a song than to hear me give my spiel about what my class is about. It was nice to see, like, the face of, who I am. But it's, for me, it's different. I would like to reach out and communicate, but, in some instances, there's a language barrier. Yes, I can speak Spanish, but, I usually have to tell parents, you could speak Spanish to me, but you got to speak very slowly for me to understand. And then I need the student to help me. So there's just some issues that I know I face in communicating with families, even when things are quote unquote normal. So now it's just a lot of, I'm communicating with the kids. I've made it clear to parents and families that, here's my email. Here's how you can reach me. You can call the school. They'll get me the message even though I'm not there, that kind of thing. But I mean, it's not easy. And I wish it was a different experience for me. And I know that there are other people out there, people who are listening to this, who you can identify with Stacey's experience, whether you're elementary, middle, or high school. And there are people who will identify with me, where it's like, you're banging your head against the wall trying to communicate with kids' families.
Do you find, Chris, like, it sounds like I could answer this on my own, but it doesn't sound like things are very different from, how things were in like a typical school year, to how things are now. Am I right in that?
You're correct. Again, limited
right.
communication before and limited to even less now.
Were things different
For
for
me.
you in the spring?
Well, in the spring, it was, I've talked about this before, where, I mean, a lot of my kids were MIA,
But this is parent communication. Like, so, and I understand,
well, if I'm not even communicating with the kid, there was no way I was communicating with the parents.
All right. So
emails were sent out. The district was trying to reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worse.
Right. And the expectations have probably helped and changed. I will say I'm definitely communicating more now this year with parents than I had in the spring. Not, one of the big pushes from our district was to make sure that you were communicating with parents on a regular basis. But I don't know. I'm that fifth grade teacher who I'm not necessarily trying to make them independent for middle school, but I recognize that as fifth graders, the work that they're doing is independent from the work that, like, they don't need as much support from mom and dad in the teaching or in the building routines of getting homework done or in and all of those things, right? Like, they don't have to read aloud to their parents. They're not reading books with their parents. There's such a level of independence at this age in elementary school that I don't find myself communicating with parents as much as I did when I taught first or second or third grades. And I feel like save for the fact that, like, the school year is just vastly different, I don't find myself communicating much more than I would normally. I am trying to use Remind more this year. I've never used it in the past. It was something I was recommended to teachers, but as a parent, I very much appreciated Remind. And so this year I thought I would try it out. And I think that that's really helpful because with the kids not being in school every day, and we had a spirit week for Week of Respect, where it's our anti-bullying week here in New Jersey, where we have to teach about bullying and being, what harassment, intimidation, and bullying is. And it's a mandatory week. I think it's the first full week in October.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. So, for that, I wanted everyone to be able to participate. And that was really nice, sending out the reminder saying, hey, today's pajama day or today's crazy sock, spooky sock day. No, that was a different one. That had nothing to do with Week of Respect. That was our regular spirit day. But that kind of thing, just knowing that, like, everyone's not hearing the same message, or everyone's not hearing the message the same way. It's always the same message, but, some kids will try to log off a little earlier at the end of seventh period. Or, if we miss them seventh period in general, it's just a nice way to keep their parents informed. I have found that that's helpful. Plus, I have a partner teacher this year, so she definitely communicates with the kids and parents via email and Google Classroom way more than I ever have in the past. So it's like learning and kind of taking my lead from her as well has been kind of nice.
Question about Remind. So 2 questions, Stacey.
Yeah.
And now maybe I don't even know this about how you're set up as a 5th grade teacher, but so are you part of first a 5th grade team where you kind of collaborate with the other 5th grade teachers in your building or buildings? This
year we're trying to be more collaborative than we have ever been. And that, we're also working with the other 4-5 building and working with their 5th grade teachers as well. There's definitely school-wide, there's more of a sense of, like, we're all in this together, whether you're virtual or hybrid. And so I feel that people are sharing resources way more than they have in the past.
So is Remind something that all the 5th grade teachers are using, or is that a choice that you're doing for your kids, your class, Stacey?
My choice for my students' parents, because kids can't use it if they're under 13.
Right. Okay. So also at 5th grade, and I'm sorry if I'm grilling you, but I have questions. So,
that's fine.
So at 5th grade, they still have special, so that they would go to not math. Math is not special.
Spanish,
no offense to the show.
Art.
Spanish,
yes.
Art, library, music. So
not library. Library is not a special.
Don't tell the librarian that, but no, I get
it. No, it's a special up to 3rd grade, and then in 4th grade, because they have other things that they're pulled out for music twice a week. On top of general music. So it just doesn't fit.
So my question is, do the special teachers, are they also using Reminder? How, like, are they getting their content to kids and families? Or you don't know?
I don't know. I mean, we were told we had to use Google Classroom this year. Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, so did you invite all the parents? Did they all accept the Google Classroom invitation? Are they getting those auto-generated reports from Classroom, or is that just for you to get stuff to your kids?
Yeah, I use it solely for delivering content to my children.
I think where I'm at, I think my parents are not maybe logging into Google Classroom, but I think they're invited to the Google Classroom. They're starting to see a lot of what the students are up to. Because I
What
think
does that look like for you, AJ? Like when you say they're invited, are they invited to log in as their students? Like as their children?
No, they just kind of see the work that is due.
Through the summary feature?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they can't see anything else. They can't log on to Google Classroom. They can't see what's posted besides the fact that work is coming. So I don't believe they can see the comments or anything like that.
So what we encourage and because when Google first introduced that summary feature, it did not work, at least in our district, right? Like you had to have a Gmail account. Not everybody had a Gmail account. You would send those invitations out. Parents never got them. So we have not really tried that again. And I say it's not something that I care for anyway, but the tech department has decided like the best way to have parents feel that they're involved in their kids' learning is to be honest with them and just say, look, if you want to know what your kids are working on, log in as them on their Google Classroom and you can see what they're working on. And as a parent, that is what I do with my own children as well. Like I have both my boys' school credentials on my phone and I can see. I don't get notifications for it because that's not the level of spying, like of what?
Tiger?
Yeah, no, I don't need to be involved at that level. Plus my son's school, they use Power School. I get a notification every time the teacher changes a grade. So I see the GPA move up and down. I tend to ignore those notifications until the end of the week. And then I look at all of them and we have conversations together as a family. Like I don't try to be like a helicopter mom or a tiger mom or a bulldozer or anything like that. I just want to be involved, be aware of what my kids are working on, ask them questions about assignments and their general learning. And I feel like come 5th grade, that's where a lot of parents are. It's not where everybody is, right? But it is that transition before middle school. And so, if a kid is missing an assignment or missing several assignments or even missing, several classes, because, attendance is different this year, right? Especially for us in the afternoon when they have to come back. My email is not sent to mom and dad. My email is sent to student and it's CC'd to mom and dad because the student is responsible for coming to class, but it's like hey, just so you know. And I think that it shows a level of respect, not only for the student, but for the parent to realize like we are treating your child as if they are able to do this on their own, because guess what? By 5th grade, they are.
And that's fantastic. I struggle to get 9th graders to understand it. Hell, sometimes I get college kids who struggle to understand that I want you to be responsible for your education. You know?
And I'm trying to instill that with my own children. Like last spring, when we went virtual, my son's French teacher sent me the email saying that his assignment was missing and it was going to affect his grade. And I was like, so then I responded to her and CC'd my son. And I was like, thanks for letting me know. In the future, please address this to Richie and feel free to CC me and I'll support you. But this is his work and he is the one who's going to turn it in. I do not speak French.
I was going to say, did you send that in English or did you Google Translate it and send it back to the French teacher? I sent it to her
in English. She sent it to me in English. But yeah, I don't know. Like when my kids get to college, I'm not going to be there babysitting them. And, they're going to have to do all of their, college picking on their own. And I'm just saying.
I can't applaud you enough. I'm silently applauding, but yes.
It's it's and for me, it's the levels, right? Like right now I watch, we converse, and then eventually, I did try to convince my son that taking Spanish in 8th grade was a better idea than not taking Spanish in 8th grade, but he wasn't so much for it. And then he didn't pick Spanish. And then we had another conversation and then he was kind of convinced.
I mean, so similarly, I got my little guy, he's in kindergarten this year. I told him when he was done with pre-K, I was like, it's on you, buddy. You're in kindergarten now. Okay. You're on that Chromebook. You can't read yet. You better figure it out.
I'm sure that's what he said.
Something to that effect.
But like, in all honesty, what does it look like for you? Because you do have two little ones, both of you, that are school aged.
My kids are, again, even my little guy, they are working independently because I'm here at home virtually. I am doing my thing with my Google Meets. You know, Colton works to my right. Okay. Miles works in his room independently. He's in his Google Meet with his teacher, you know, doing the whole third grade thing. And they do what they need to do. So if we're talking a little bit about technology, you know, like you're leveraging Remind in Google Meet, you know, for my kindergartner, it's Google Meets and Seesaw. So he's got Seesaw on the iPad, and he's got his little portfolio daily thing that comes through every day, and he's got the links, and the teacher has set it up fantastically. So, you know, doing what I do with that tech stuff, I had an understanding of Seesaw, but to really see how it's applied has been a really good thing, and she does a really nice job. And
you said that's Colton?
Yeah, that's Colton. So,
and is that a good level of communication with you? Do you wish you had more?
I don't know that I necessarily wish I had more, but I mean, through the Seesaw app, like Kate and I get messages from the teacher, sometimes to us, sometimes to the whole class. And that's fine. I only wish that sometimes like Seesaw was a little like Voxer, and she could just send an audio message instead of this message I had to scroll through on my phone that, you know, she took 5 minutes to type up. But at the beginning of the year, she asked parents in a Google Meet, how would you prefer us to communicate with you? And we were all like, just do it through Seesaw. We don't want to have to go to another app or check our email. Just do it all through the one thing.
Which is why I picked Remind, because as a parent, I like that it just comes through as a text. And I said, please don't use the app. It's just one more thing you have to check. But who's not checking their text messages all day long?
Right.
And they laughed. They chuckled at back to school night when I said that.
For my boys,
then,
go ahead, Chris. You weren't done. Sorry.
No, I was going to say with Miles, there is no parental communication that I'm aware of. Because, again, so he's in the quote unquote the gifted program. So I think even at third grade, she's putting more on them to be responsible and do things. Now we check his work because, sorry, son, your mother and father work in education. We're gonna be looking down on you to check on you. So we're behind the scenes, but making sure he's on task. I will check in with him when I go on my lunch and my prep to say, you know, how's your day going? What are you doing? Do you need help with anything? So so far it's been, if his teacher needs to reach us, she emails us.
And is she like communicating like whole class with you guys about anything? Like, we're having this, or, you know, we're noticing this.
The weird thing. So some of the initial communications with like, and Stacey, this will make you cringe, like usernames and passwords. It was like, email to all the parents, go check your child's username and password on this spreadsheet for some different stuff. And I'm just like, why do I need access to everybody's accounts on these services if I wanted to go in?
Oh my God, yes. I'm dying right now.
I said you would cringe. I led with the cringiness. But that was just at the beginning. So
who corrected her on that? Because that's horrible.
I don't know that it got corrected, but she hasn't emailed us with all the usernames and passwords for everything.
That's good. What about you, AJ?
It was a little different for me, I guess. So, you know, Daniel, who's a kindergartner, he was in school for 5 days, half days since, you know, September. So there wasn't really much communication through any of the technology, because I don't think he's actually using the technology a lot in his grade level. I know they sent a Google password for him to be used in case we go remote. So the communication from the teacher really came, you know, honestly with letters, you know. So it's basically the fact that, you know, here's a note from the teacher. So we look at it
on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
Yes.
Yeah, on paper. So, you know, again, because they're not using much technology, and I know this particular teacher who was using technology well, you know, I know she doesn't really like technology at all. She's been teaching for quite some time, and she's embraced technology, but she doesn't really love it. So the letters home have been there. Some handwritten notes here and there as well. There has been some emails. But I think for Ryan, who's a second grader now, we haven't been getting a lot of communication through Google Classroom, but we have been getting emails at the end of every week. You know, sometimes I would kind of prefer seeing how he's doing in class, to understand if his work is there. But I guess now that he's not remote anymore, it doesn't really make a difference. So the work that he's doing is basically the work that he does in the classroom. And I'll see that when it gets brought home, I guess, like the old school way. So we try to talk to him and we try to check his Google Classroom as much as possible, especially when he was remote, looking over his shoulder, trying to help him get on there and really get started with the Google Meet and all that kind of thing. But not a little more communication may be necessary just because I want to know his progress. Because for a second grader and a kindergartner, what is a grade going to tell me? Satisfactory effort. So what does that mean? Like, is he talking too much in class? Is he doing his work?
You know how you'd feel if he had the not S.
Right. Right. Whatever. Right. So it's whatever the standards based is, the standards based grading.
Oh, that's like those are numbers. Aren't yours numbers?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I can't remember from last year, to be honest with you, because I didn't really look at his grades from March because I was sitting there with him and I knew what he was doing.
Right.
So I don't remember what the grades look like. But, I'm just thinking about the communication. Like, are we communicating too much with families? Is communication is this going to be a new form of communication? Or is it going to be a new expectation from parents? Because at this point, right, for a lot of kids who are remote, a lot of the kids who are like working in a bubble, almost literally, that do we have to communicate more, or are we just overdoing it? I'm just wondering that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what it's like to, like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Well, Stacey, because you get to communicate with families, I want to. I don't know that I would be what you describe, AJ, as overdoing it. I would like to have a baseline that I don't even have, where I know that if I called home, I would reach somebody, or I had the way to email somebody. I would. And again, not just if a kid is out of line, but again, I want to also communicate to celebrate, right? So, Stacey, how would you judge your communication now versus your past experiences in the classroom?
I think it's about the same. Last year after our journalism unit, I proposed to my students that we start a newsletter. And so they started the newsletter. I wanted to be a little hands off, but I felt that it was a way for me to share not only what was happening in the school, but or in our classroom, but what was also happening in the school. So like things like book fair and like other fundraisers. I feel like, I don't know what it's like school communication with you guys, but personally, the communication I get now from both of my boys' schools, I wish that they sent one district email and then said, like, here's middle school information, here's high school information, and then I could pick. But right now, I get literally almost the same exact email from both principals. And, like, there are, like, minor changes in between. And I just go through and I'm like, nope, don't need that. So I kind of appreciate that it's laid out with headings. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, I don't need to worry about, like, military counseling. We're not a military family, but we're in a very big military community. So, like, oh, it's nice that they have that. Great, I'll move on. And so, like, because some of those things repeat, I know which ones I can skip, right? Like, we can't go pick up the free lunches that our district is offering until December because I can't get there till 11 o'clock on a Monday. That's why my kid's virtual. Like, it's just like little things like that. So, like, but they're very long emails, and to get two of them and then still have to look and see, like, well, what is different from what Dr. Lopez is saying versus what Dr. Kearns is saying, like, that to me is important. And I wish that it was collapsed. Where I teach, I feel like those emails just are so incredibly long, the ones that they send from the district or from the school. And then you lose some of the finer details, like the fact that our PTA book sale is coming up, or that, we had a PTA family night of Bali dancing. And like that's kind of cool, like those are the things that I would like to highlight more. So I did have my kids do that after our journalism unit. And again, that gave them some ownership of like discerning what was important, what they should share, and how they should share it. And, they took ownership of that. I would say probably, we were still in school. So it started when we were still in school, and then it kind of didn't happen anymore because, COVID. But they did do it for a solid, like, 2 months. And so that was fun. But no, I wouldn't say that my personal communication with parents is really that much greater. I would say with Remind, it's that much easier.
When you use Remind, Stacey, do you use it as a broadcast only, or do parents have the ability to reply to you?
They can reply, but I have not really highlighted that as a feature. So those who are familiar with Remind might be able to say to themselves, "Oh yeah, look, I can respond to Mrs. Lindis," but it's not something where I was like, "And this is a two-way communicator." Like, just send me an email. That is
So I was just saying. So you encourage parents to email you. Here's my email with well, anything. So you prefer that they reach out to you via email.
Yeah, and since we have two email addresses, I prefer that they use the Outlook one versus the Gmail one, because in Gmail, you're getting all the student stuff, and so I like to separate.
That's a House of Ed Tech for a different day, that we have districts that use two emails. So let's not go there.
Crazy. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Well, let's take a moment here. So, I mean, we've been talking and sharing. So if you're watching and you want to hop aboard, come on, podcastpd.com/join. You can be a part of this conversation. If you're listening to this on the podcast side, after we have since ended the live stream and we're not live and we're sleeping and doing other fun things, go to podcastpd.com/feedback. Tag us on Twitter, tag us on Instagram. What are your thoughts? How are you communicating with parents and families? Are you stressed? Are you not stressed? Everything we've talked about, we would love to know how and what you think about these same exact topics. And feedback is something that we certainly thrive on.
Yeah. So back to just thinking about how communication has changed. There are all different kinds of forms of communication. Like you were saying, Chris, with good news phone calls. Like I used to do those way back in the day when my school was a responsive classroom school, and it was a big part of what we did. We also used to connect with families by having a hopes and dreams conference. Parents would come in and physically be in my building with their kids before school started. We got paid for that week. And it was, I think we got paid $300 or $500 for that week. And as many parents came in, you would meet with them, and it would be I'd sit down with AJ and I'd be like, all right, so tell me about Daniel. What are your hopes and dreams? What do you hope he accomplishes academically? What do you hope he accomplishes socially? How can we build a connection at home? And I felt like they were so beneficial, because then the kids come in, they feel comfortable. They know where their classroom is. They know what their room looks like. They've already brought their school supplies to school because they've been there. And that was really nice. That was in a different school district from where I'm at now. But that was just, I don't know. It was next level building relationships with parents. And I don't know. I know for a fact that school is no longer doing it, but I wonder if it was a byproduct of not having enough funding, right, for elementary teachers to do that, or if it's just a change in the times where we're so hyper scheduled and busy and blah, 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 that it's just not feasible, or the interest doesn't exist anymore. I really can't say. I don't know.
I'm sure something like that. People are busy, because they're bringing in the teachers or bringing in the families. It's a different time, and you have to find people to do it. And then if you're not going to do it, it looks bad for the other teachers. I'm sure you can do something like that now with a simple Google form or some kind of video introduction.
I do it with a form.
Yeah, so you can even use Screencastify or Flipgrid in that regard, and you can have the same answers to those same questions and kind of still build those relationships with the parents. So that sounds like a really powerful movement to get to know both parents and students. So I like that.
Yeah, that is one of the first lines of communication that I have with parents is their hopes and dreams for their kids. So tell me about, what motivates your child? How does he or she best learn? Does your child have a nickname? And then this way you get a sense of who the family is before the kid even steps in the classroom, which is nice.
Yeah, I like that. Well done.
I can share that form with you, or we'll put it in the show notes.
That would even seem like something, again, the wheels are always turning. You could open up a Flipgrid for parents if they felt comfortable doing that where you moderate the responses so you like can collect responses. That was actually something, not with the hopes and dreams thing. And don't let me forget, I have an idea for the hopes and dreams for this podcast. So Stacey, don't let me forget.
Okay.
My son, Miles' teacher, so 3rd grade, she had us invited parents to contribute to a Flipgrid, like to give a message to our children, for the school year, a couple weeks in. And then she like gave them access to hear the message that moms and dads sent to their kid. So I thought that was really cool to invite us into the learning space. And, so I thought that was good. Now, what I was going to say for the hopes and dreams, maybe that could be another type of question we ask future guests. What are your hopes and dreams in education or for professional development?
Yeah.
And do you have a nickname?
And can we contact your parents?
Well, it's interesting. Like, like all of these kids have like really long names, and some of them do have nicknames. Like I just got a new kid last Thursday, and his name is very, very long, but his nickname is Rick. And if I were looking at his name, that's not the nickname I would pull out of it. I mean, the same thing can be said for Richie, right? Like, or Richard. Like, I don't know that I would get Rick out of it, right? I would say Rich or Richie, and the same thing with Robert, right? Anybody, like, I always think it's interesting when the nickname for Robert is Bobby. I don't know why. I just always thought that was...
It is a little strange.
Right? Or even Anastasia and becoming Stacey. I think that's odd as well.
Is that your name?
No.
I was going to say, Stacey shortened from Stacey.
No. But do you know what I mean? Like you look at those names and you're like, where does that come from? And I have a couple of kids whose nicknames are just not anything near.
I've only ever really seen that at Rutgers, where I have more international students, and they'll come with like, my name is, and I'm not even going to try to pull a name up, but like, my name is this. Okay. Call me Sue. Okay, Sue. We're good.
Right. So it went from like a 13-letter name and now it's a 3-letter name. And you're like, sure.
And nowhere in the 13 letters are S, U, or E in any order.
Exactly. That's my point. So like that hopes and dreams survey is really, really helpful. And then I stole this from your podcast, yes, I was listening. But you had like, I'm calling it a conference one-pager.
Mr. Podcast over here.
But I did a conference one-pager for each of my students, and we'll share that in the show notes too. But I can share my screen, right? So
you sure can. So for the visual people, see, now if you're listening to this after the fact, you got to go to the show notes, or you tune in live when we say come live. So Stacey, go ahead, share.
All right. So I did this for all of my kids. You guys can see that, right?
Yep.
And so where it says student, I would put their name and then like notes about reading, writing, and math, attendance, because this was a huge issue with some of my kids. Like I had a couple of kids who, missed 6 of our classes. And then also on top of that, missed like 3 or 4 special areas per week, so far this session. And so like, but strengths, areas to work on, and reading level. And then this area in the center of the clipboard where it says student, I printed these out. So that's where I took notes from the parents. So like if the parent says, oh, my kid, once you get him on your side, he'll be loyal forever. And, he just needs to know that you care about him. Or if it was like, this is such an improvement from last year, we felt that it was too limited, or we had a couple of people say it's like such a flip in the other direction. So like we would take all of those notes. And then in the center is my friend Moji with my co-teacher. And so like if she said things or I said things that were not part of the notes that we had typed out, I would write them in there as well. And so for us, it was really helpful going forward. And it's not happening this year, but if I do this again next year, I also have the kids fill out before conferences a goals sheet that we use as a reference. And like in the past, I have printed them. And when we had conferences in person, I would give those to the parents. But going forward, I would maybe think about possibly like having a link or a QR code for their goal sheet and for their, we do another sheet that asks them to talk about what they think will share with their parents, what they know will share with their parents, and what we hope they'll share with their parents. And those were pretty enlightening for some of our kids. Like I have one kid who's completely, he called himself camera shy, which was a really nice way to put it, but he doesn't like being on camera in our Zoom meetings. So, you know, we talked about that with his parents, and he did say, what I think you will share is that I'm camera shy. So there was like, it shows us like, are you able to reflect on the type of kid that you are? And like also allows for us to say like, hey, I just, you know, she wants, you know, so-and-so wanted me to share that she's the fastest kid in our class for the week that she's here, because they did races out on the playground one day. So like it's nice to be able to share those things. And so like, that's fun too. But the conference one pager I did get from something that you shared, Chris, on one of your podcasts. I just completely modified it.
Yeah,
I wish I could attribute the person.
I'll look back. But I think it was like you're saying a one pager, but I think the term that I had used or the person who I got this from, they consider like an infographic about the student. And that's what it looked like as you were displaying it. So it's kind of like an infographic.
Right. I call it a one pager. Like it's not something I'm giving to the parent, but I think her intent was to give it to the parent. And the information that was on that infographic per student was vastly different than the type of data that we collect. Like I don't collect, you know, kids' vocabulary scores or like skill levels for reading, writing, and math and share that at conferences. So I definitely did some adjusting, or I don't count the number of books kids have read so far, although I could using Epic and some of the other tools we're using, but it's not data that's necessary for me to share.
Right.
I can just share, you know, Chris is a voracious reader, you know.
Said nobody ever, but okay, thank you.
He listens to a lot of his favorite method of learning is listening. And so I highly recommend for him lots of podcasts. AJ is a very active child. He likes to play outside a lot and just be around people and be physically active.
AJ,
what's that code for?
Dummy. He is a jock. He really is not a great student.
I didn't say any of that.
I'm just reliving my days back as a.
Oh no, Stacey talks a lot.
And look where you are now.
I know.
Microphone, podcast.
Anyway,
all good stuff. All good stuff.
Yeah. So I put that in there, and that'll be in the show notes.
Thank you for sharing that. I like that.
Yeah. And feel free to take it and share it and get rid of the Bitmoji or whatever.
What you called it, a friend something? Like you didn't even use the name. Like we can't say because, like, what did you call it? Friend moji?
I called it a friend moji because the two of us are in there together. That's one picture. Like that's
so you connected on Snapchat?
No, oh God, I'm not on Snapchat.
You can connect.
I can't connect with the friend emoji. I would love to do Bitmojis with like other people.
No, I'm not on Snapchat. So I have a hack or something. Like
well, you need to go over your hack. So next episode, we're going to talk about connecting with students. The following episode, we're going to eliminate podcasts from Stacey's phone. The episode after that, we're going to celebrate Christmas by learning how to hack Bitmoji.
We might have to have Dan on for that because he set it up for me.
Oh, okay.
And so like I have my friend Moji with Doug. That one lives on my phone all the time. They're cute. They're fun.
They are, especially if you have friends. Otherwise, it's a little lonely. It's you and a balloon or some other graphics on Bitmoji. But actually, speaking, let's brainstorm this live on the air. Miles has been hounding me to appear on this podcast again. So I said maybe next time because we wanted to see about how to connect with students.
No, next week is and next time is connecting with colleagues. We did connecting with students already.
You missed that.
We did?
Yep.
Oh. All right.
It
well,
was
then
only 2 weeks ago.
One of the two of you are going to have to reach out to him and tell him he can't be on the show because I'm not the bad guy. No, I'm kidding. All right. So we need to find a way to get him on. He wants to be on. So bring your kids too.
Okay.
Bring your kids to the podcast day.
Bring your kids to the podcast day.
That'll be in April then.
Okay.
Bring your kids to
Cool.
work day. Ha ha ha.
Got it.
Ha 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 ha.
All right.
I can't wait for get away from my kids and go to work day.
What's that, February for you?
Who knows? You know, let me
Could be September
complete transparency.
2021.
I love this. I love being home with them. I love being able to, again, for those of you watching, I got the extra bed behind me. When I'm in my classroom and like you get that free downtime, it's like leaning back in the chair. Here, I can hop into the bed. I can go downstairs. I can go outside. I can just like literally put my feet up. It's great. I love being able to have waffles every day with my kids, making lunch. Although you would think, okay, he's got a kindergartner at home. He's got to like make his lunch. Nah, Colton, Daddy, I got it. I'm making my lunch. Takes out the knife, makes his own peanut butter sandwich. He's happy. Gets it all over his face. It's wonderful.
What
These
does
are
it
moments
sound like
I would
in your
never
house?
get back. What do you mean?
So, all right. So we're totally off topic now. You're going to have a lot of editing to do.
Nope, it's all going in. Go ahead.
All right. So I asked this because the one day that I was home with my kids, because I'm not home with my children, obviously I'm a hybrid teacher. I have to go into school every day, which I thoroughly enjoy. But the day that I was home for Rosh Hashanah, the boys were, here. And I kid you not, it felt like they were at school. Like it was so quiet and it just felt really sad and depressing. And I almost cried for them because it
Question.
was such a miserable experience to watch.
Question.
Go ahead.
AJ, go ahead.
Can somebody explain this quiet thing to me?
Your kids aren't quiet.
Quiet? No. A remote day of learning is put your sister down. Why aren't you at your computer? What are you doing over there? You are not supposed to be playing with toys right now.
Would you stop touching me?
watching TV. Leave
No.
Alexa alone. Like,
No, it's literally like Richie sits in this chair that I'm in right now. He has like another like
Poor kids
TV
learning in the
table.
dark.
And he,
I think that window actually has like sunlight that comes through it. Don't worry about
it
it.
does during the
Probably.
day.
She got blackout shades during the day.
And then Rob's in his room and it's just so sad. And it's like,
Yeah, I can see how that'd be sad for you.
Can you share?
just-
Can you send some sadness AJ's way?
I don't know. Just because like I also know that, when my kids are virtual, they're also muted and they're not talking and participating.
So
Although I will tell
it is
them
a
to
little
stay muted. I will say stay muted and call out or like add your voice to the chat or whatever. But like,
all right. So you were asking me what's it like here in my house. So AJ, it's like daddy daycare over there. Okay, great. So Mr. Mom. So for me, again, so in this office, Colton works at Kate's desk. He's got his Chromebook. He's got headphones. And there are times where I can hear him interacting with his teacher in the Google Meet, or I can hear him interacting on his iPad doing seesaw stuff. Okay. And so he's got like built-in time. So the teacher will put timers up on the screen and he's got his routine. For the most part, he's quiet because he knows that daddy is sitting over here and he can hear me talking. There are times where I'll look at him when my kids are doing stuff in our Google Meet and I'll say, we'll chat and I'll be like, are you okay? He's like, Daddy, I'm in school. Leave me alone.
right. And so that has happened too, where like I called one day because I left something at home. So I called my son and he was like, what? I'm at school. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But like,
yeah. And then, for Miles, he's in his room and sometimes he gets very animated. You guys have met him and I can hear him with these headphones on and I can hear him like talking and like his is a little more interactive, but for the most part, they sit in their space, they do their schoolwork, they interact when they can.
AJ,
And
what is
then-
that face?
He has no idea what I'm talking about.
I feel like an awful parent right now.
Why?
I can't get my kids to sit still. I don't get it.
My kids are 15 and 13. And I think that's partly what
My
makes me
kids are Chris's kids' age.
I know.
My kid would look at me when he's in school. He's like, Dad, I'm on the computer. I'm like, dude, you're not muted.
I will go into Miles's room and I'll open the door slowly and I can see him at his desk and I'll be like, are you muted? Is your camera? And he'll like on his Chromebook, he'll flip the little thing over his camera. We put one of those little privacy thing. So like he's always muted or he'll flip it. My kindergartner, Colton, knows how to hit Control D on the keyboard to mute his microphone.
Are you kidding me? Ryan would be on the computer. Daniel would be dancing behind him.
They're in two separate workspaces.
No, clothes are mandatory in the Bianco household.
Oh, goodness.
I hate my life.
Speaking of clothes, let me just throw this in here. I wore pants for the first time on Friday night. I haven't worn pants since March.
Okay. What Chris is really saying is shorts have been a big part of his life. For the first time, all of his legs were covered instead of just half of them. You need to clarify.
It sounds more fun if I don't, but yeah, sure. What Stacey said.
It's so inappropriate. Oh my god.
It was cold on Friday. I'm doing the football announcing and it was cold and rainy. So I was like, but hey, because of CrossFit, not a CrossFit, my pants fit really good.
Ooh.
Really well.
Yeah.
Hey, do you CrossFit, Chris?
Yes, I do.
You? Damn.
CrossFit.
No idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We're totally off topic.
That's fine. We're having fun. We're 55 minutes into the party.
And I'm fine with that.
Communicate with your parents.
Right.
Yeah, bottom line, communicate whether you want to or not.
Well, find a way that works for you and is sustainable. The thing that I used to hate about just myself in general was like I would start a newsletter and then by like October I was like, this is the worst idea ever, and I'd stop. So like,
well, just you're better than the teacher who decides to start a newsletter and doesn't make it out of September with an issue.
That's true. But this is why when we started the newsletter with my kids, I was like, this is on you guys. And, I would be willing to give up 2 or 3 lunches and have them just join me. And that was fun. So hello to our Facebook user.
Hello, Facebook user. Let us know who you are. Thanks for checking us in. Actually, let me ask you this. And AJ, as administrator and even back to your time in the classroom, do your districts, for lack of better words, mandate how you document communication with families, either through your student information system or anything like that, or ask for any records of communication? Okay,
Not since I was a new teacher.
Okay.
Like I think it used to be part like of a new teacher portfolio when I had to keep one in my first district.
In my district, and again, maybe because parental involvement is low and they want to see that we're at least trying. Anytime I email a kid, call a parent, I got to go into the notes of that kid's profile and put the date, why I called, that I called, or did I send an email? So they're like looking for all that stuff.
I keep personal notes, but I don't.
Our notes have to be like internal. Like I can, like if I look at a kid, I can see what other teachers have communicated home about, what issues. So it's all through Oncourse.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's a good record. I tend to each year save parent communications. So if a parent emails me or I email them back, it gets dropped into a separate folder.
Nice. I got a nice email this year. A parent reached out to myself and my in-class support teacher, just how enjoyable our class sounds, because she's home with her son who's in our 9th grade history class. And she just was like, you and, the co-teacher, like I hear you, like the music and how engaging you are. And I know my son really appreciates it. And I really appreciate, like, you two are just wonderful teachers. And I was just like, let me print that out. Let me save that for a rainy day where I'm aggravated with life. So that was good.
Yeah, I do that from time to time. I call it a smile file.
Is that do you tag that in Gmail? Like tag it as smile file?
Because my parents don't communicate with me in Gmail.
Oh, I do tag it in Outlook, I guess.
No, I just print it. Like you said, you print it out and I literally have a file, like a hard physical file that says it's called smile file.
Nice.
Yeah. Makes me happy. It's my happy file.
Happy file. Well, speaking of happy, podcasts make us happy, and listening to podcasts is, again, that's where we got this whole podcast from, because Stacey listened to podcasts. She became friends with me because I create a podcast, and now AJ creates a podcast. And probably by 2050, Stacey will have her own podcast. So I'm just going to extend the window of opportunity. No. By then, we'll get you to have your own show.
I'll be old enough to be president. No, I'm kidding. Not a white male, so it doesn't count. You can take that out.
I'm a white guy. I'm not going to play the other one. All right,
Please-
so
but
we're going to
please
share a
cut that out,
podcast recommendation. We're going to share a podcast recommendation, and our past practice has been we would all give you one, but that was overwhelming, Stacey. So we wanted to save Stacey. So we cut it down to one recommendation per episode by one of us. But we're tweaking that today, and both AJ and I, we're going to WWF, because that's the real wrestling. We're going to WWF this recommendation. And AJ, what do you have for us?
First,
that I'm going to help you with.
That's actually not allowed. You can't say that. They lost their court case. It's actually WWF is the World Wildlife Foundation. You cannot say WWF anymore. Sorry.
WWF.
E. Nope, can't say
F.
It. They lost.
I just said it. Come at
But
me.
they lost it ages ago.
Yeah, that's why they used the E. Anyway, so
I am a real American.
All right. We're over an hour here.
What you gonna do,
Fighting for the
brother?
rights of every man.
Stacey from the top rope. All right, AJ, what do you got for us?
Our podcast recommendation for this episode, a special shout out to our friend of the show, and how do you want to say this? I guess co-creator of the network, Dr. Dan Kreiness.
Network compadre.
There you go, network compadre. There's your word. Just keep using that. Let's bring it back for real. We've mentioned Dan Kreiness before and his Leader of Learning podcast, and Dan has an extension to his podcast that he has come out, I think, once or twice a month, called The Devil's Advocate, which he and Rachel Dene Poth talk about different topics, and they kind of go back and forth and have different points of views on trending topics in education, hence the Devil's Advocate.
By sound research.
Yes, sound research. Very, very, very positive here. So they take a topic, they discuss it, and they both kind of share their point of view. Not always in agreement, which I think is the most exciting thing about this one. So Dan and Rochelle's latest episode tackles a topic of assessment and grading. And he likes to focus on toxic grading practices versus effective grading practices, evaluative versus descriptive feedback, and formative versus summative assessment. So we are all, I think we could say this, we're all big fans of the Leader of Learning, and we were proud to have him on the Education Podcast Network. And if you have only listened to the Leader of Learning, I would suggest throwing this little part-time project of Dan's, The Devil's Advocate, into your mix. Christopher?
And if you're subscribed to his show, there's no avoiding it because Dan is a professional podcaster who knows what he's doing. So if you're subscribed to his show, you're getting these episodes.
Yeah,
Does
don't
it come
go.
out as a separate feed?
No, don't go
Nope.
searching for the Devil's Advocate. Actually, look for the Leader of Learning podcast, and you will find this as part of his episode catalog.
There you go. Here's Dan if you don't know what he sounds like.
Hi, I'm Dan Kreiness.
That's Dan Kreiness. Dr. Dan.
Doctor.
Love Dr. Dan.
The Love
Okay.
Doctor.
The Love Dr.
I
Dan?
love Dr. Dan. Never. Oh God, cut that out too, Chris. Great.
I got his doctorate?
What?
That's it. Never mind.
Oh, hell no.
So go to leaderoflearning.com/devil's advocate. He is streaming this on YouTube so you can watch the episodes. But again, just go subscribe to his podcast, rate it, review it, listen to it. He's doing this once a month, 2 solid episodes. AJ, did you talk about the first one? Did I miss that?
I did not talk about the first one. I spoke about the most recent one.
The first one in the series was about reopening schools. So certainly there are some great tips and information in there about being in school during this time. So still valuable, still relevant. Yeah. So cool. So this has been episode 86. This is part 2 of this 3-part miniseries. Episode 85 was about connecting with students, which apparently I wasn't paying attention to because I wanted to bring my son on for an episode that already happened. And our next episode, episode 87, we're going to talk about connecting with colleagues during virtual learning. And we're going to be streaming that, recording that, whatever, live on Sunday, November. You guys hear that? November 1st.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So if you have thoughts on connecting with colleagues during this time, get us your thoughts. Email us feedback@podcastpd podcastpd.com. Send us a voice message at podcastpd.com/feedback. Also, give us some thoughts on our newly redesigned website, which has a bit of an upgrade and a facelift, which we're pretty proud of here at Podcast PD. And Stacey, before you wave your magic wand, we got some email feedback I'd like to share.
Woohoo!
So we got an email, and anybody can email us, feedback at podcastpd.com. We got an email from Amy Anderson. Amy is a second grade teacher in Wisconsin. And she says the following: love your podcast. A great way. If you're going to email us, start with that. Okay. If it's going to start with anything,
even
if it's negative,
even if
yeah, we'll take it. So she says, love your podcast. We are in person at this point. I do agree. I love getting to know my students before we need to go virtual. It has given us a chance to learn the platforms. If you haven't, and I think she's talking to you, Stacey, if you haven't come up with a name for your students in person and on Zoom, call them boomers.
In person and boomers. In person and on Zoom, call them boomers.
Boom.
Boom. All right, maybe. Yeah, I'm still saying roomers and Zoomers, or just fifth grade. All right, fifth graders or writers. You know, that teacher voice that goes up just a little bit.
What are you talking about?
No, I do not up talk. I'm just saying it's up an octave.
Give us an example. Pretend AJ and I are causing trouble in the back of your classroom. Go.
All right, fifth graders right now, like, do you hear how it's higher? Just a higher octave. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not like that in the class. It's only like that in Zoom. That's my Zoom voice.
Zoom voice. AJ, do you have a Zoom voice?
Nope.
Oh, dude, that was your chance to like do a Zoom impression from The Flash.
Nope.
Nope. All right. So if you want to send us feedback, podcastpd.com/feedback. You can hit us up on Twitter at podcastpd, slide into our DMs on the gram at podcastpd. Voxer, you can go to our Voxer group. That's a fun happening place. Go to podcastpd.com/Voxer. Oh, I know what I forgot. Executive producers. AJ, talk about our executive producers, because we've got a couple and we do this podcast for people, and we would certainly welcome more executive producers.
Yeah. So if you get value from our conversations and you ever wonder if there's a way that you can support our efforts to create this podcast, then this is for you. You can become an executive producer. You can show your support on a monthly or yearly basis. You can support Podcast PD by donating $5 a month or $50 a year. As a thank you for your support, every executive producer will receive a Podcast PD sticker, and yearly supporters will receive a Podcast PD mug and a Podcast PD t-shirt. For more information, visit podcastpd.com/executive producer for more information. And thank you to all of our current executive producers: Adam Kelly, Mike Brilla, Stephanie Scrocky, and Sandy Hartman.
Woohoo! And on that note,
Hold on. Before you do it, Chris, we talked about this. If you're listening to this podcast, we need you to bother Tony Danza.
Yes.
We want Tony Danza on this podcast.
Podcast PD Army, rise up. Go tweet at Tony Danza. Use hashtag extravadanza. Hashtag Podcast PD. We want Tony.
Angela.
that's what I was just thinking.
And this is all fired up, Stacey. I don't know if you saw it, but there's apparently going to be a reboot of Who's the Boss?
I did
with
hear about
Tony
that.
and Alyssa Milano.
Samantha.
So go help us get Tony Danza.
No, Jonathan.
Jonathan's not going to be on the show.
No, just the two of them.
Just the two of them?
Yeah.
So there's no boss.
Well,
okay, moving on.
Well, who's the boss?
Who's the
There
boss?
isn't one.
Who is it?
That's what
Probably
I watch.
Alyssa Milano.
She's a boss. So, Podcast PD faithful, go tag Tony Danza. Tell him he needs to come on here. It would be fantastic to talk to Tony about education, because if you don't know, he spent time early before he got, acting and famous. He was a teacher, high school level. English, I believe, AJ?
Well, he always wanted to be a teacher. I know the story. I watched the TV show. He had a TV show called Teach, where he actually went back into like an inner city school, and he was a teacher for like a semester. And he was really learning the ropes of becoming a teacher, and he has so much passion for education. So, yeah.
As do we. It's a
English.
great fit. It would be a great episode. So go tell Tony Danza to be on Podcast PD.
Come on, tag us, tag Tony. That would just...
If you want to be lazy, just use the tweets AJ and I have already put out there and just retweet them.
Which I got made fun of, by the way. Just so
By
you know.
who?
No, not really made fun of, but somebody's like, so you like Tony Danza, huh? I was like, yeah, I do.
That's awesome.
That's it. We're going to get all the celebrity educators. We're getting Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, there you go.
If we get Michelle Pfeiffer, I want Coolio.
Well, I'll take JT, because wasn't he a teacher with her?
We're going to get Veronica Vaughn
no, he
from
was a
Billy
teacher
Madison.
He was a teacher with Cameron
Veronica
Diaz.
Vaughn.
Cameron Diaz. There you go.
Cameron Diaz. Jack Black.
Yes.
Well, Adam Sandler did go back in Billy Madison to become a teacher. Why don't we just get the whole cast? Hopes and dreams, people. Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and dreams. There you go. Coming up in the new year, Podcast PD's movie reunion series, where we bring together movies about education and we reunite the casts.
That would be. We should do a podcast PD on movies about education.
Okay.
All right.
There it is.
There it is.
We are going to rank the best education movies. We have to have categories, though. Real and then comedy.
Fine. I need to up my game
Isn't
on real.
all education a comedy, AJ?
No, it's not funny anymore.
All right.
All right. On that note, William Daniels. Who is that?
Not familiar. Got to be honest.
neither.
Stephanie, give us one more little piece there. Who is William Daniels?
We need another note to name the tune.
This is just radio silence right now.
That's fine.
That's all right. She'll get back to us.
Wait, is William Daniels the guy from not Lean on Me?
Dead Poet Society?
Oh, Mr. Feeney.
Oh.
Oh,
Good call.
Feeney.
Yeah, we got you. We got you. Boy Meets World. We got you.
Oh,
Didn't even think. Yeah, good
I
call.
didn't- yeah, I didn't think
And then he was
Mr.
he was not
Matthews.
only
well, then we
not
need
only high school, he was college,
Mr. Cotta.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
you guys don't
no,
want
no.
Welcome Back Cotta? Oh, never mind.
No.
Forget it. Go away.
Yo, Mr. Carter.
See, I
Mr.
told
Carter,
you.
so.
See, you get it.
Barino.
Oh my goodness.
On that note,
All right.
podcast video is about done.
And we're canceled.
This is our series finale. Goodbye. No.
All right. On that note, go out and do well. No, that's a Feeney thing. Do good, actually, he said.
Too good.
Do good. All right. Instead, let's just say good night, Christopher.
Good night, Christopher.
Good night, AJ.
Good night, AJ.
Is it Andrew Jacoby?
It's not
We're going to keep coming up with new nicknames for you. All right. Good night,
An-
Podcast PD.
Antoine Jamal.
Good night.
My nickname in high school. Let me tell you. I'm not joking with you.
All right. That was fun.
Are
Before
you done
we,
recording?
well, I mean, we're still live. This part will get cut. Thank you to David. Thank you to Stephanie. Thank you to Facebook user for checking in.
Facebook.
Facebook in a house. Nice. Tell your friends. Let's grow the party here on Sunday nights when we do this. For those of you watching, if you didn't notice, so we're recording this today. We've eliminated the week and a half gap between when we record and when we release. So we're going to record every other Sunday, and you will get the podcast the next closest Wednesday. So this episode will drop in your podcast feed on Wednesday, October 21st, and we'll be back on November 1st. Holy crap!
That's crazy.
You know what that means?
Thanksgiving.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Convention.
But this, who cares about that at this point?
Stacey was
We need
very
to start
excited.
thinking about the 12 days of podcast PD as the end of the year is approaching.
That's hard because I haven't really listened to anything. I
Well,
gotta start listening. To
Get your
stuff.
listening ear ready.
Which one, left or right?
Both.
Okay.
I tell my kids to put their listening ears on.
Nice.
I'm a big dork.
Yes. I mean, that's now taken forever and ever and ever.
Yep, it's fine. I'm a big dork.
That gets stuck with the smack me in the face.
Speaking of smack me in the face, can we put the APB out on Al? Where is Al?
I actually messaged Al. He's doing
Does he
okay.
not like us?
I don't know. I think he's just busy.
His kids are a handful.
He kept saying he was gonna. He said he was gonna come a couple weeks ago, but he kind of missed up the dates. So he thought it was a date that we were off, but he thought we were on.
My gift for you tonight.
That's hot.
We miss you, Al.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube. It's time for private stuff.